Welcome back to the deep dive. Right, let's set a scene for you. You're covering a ridiculously busy post-take ward round. And in the middle of all that chaos, you get that sinking feeling. You've just realized you've made a pretty significant prescribing error. Let's say the classic one in insulin dose mix-up. Okay, so the immediate clinical side of things is handled. The patient is stable, you've reported it, but that adrenaline rush is gone. And now you're just left with that awful feeling of making a mistake, the self-doubt, and what feels like a mountain of paperwork. And that's when the professional requirement kicks in. Reflection. So the question is, how do you take that really stressful incident and turn it into something genuinely valuable, professional gold, instead of just an unfocused diary entry that could even cause problems for you down the line? That's what this deep dive is all about. We're going to synthesize the exact guidance that UK educators use, looking at what the General Medical Council, the GMC, expects, and, really importantly, what scores highest in assessments like the MSRA SJT.
Our mission is to make sure your reflection is purposeful, it's protected, and it actually leads to change. Okay, let's unpack this.
Absolutely. And if we can just boil this entire thing down to one single principle for you, it's this. Professional reflection after an error has to be structured. It has to be rigorously anonymized, completely purposeful, and focused on generating specific shared system improvements. It's not about beating yourself up.
Right.
And that focus is just so essential, not just for exams. I mean, this is for genuine long-term patient safety and your own resilience. Errors happen. They just do. But good, structured reflection, that's the tool, that's the mechanism that medicine uses to reduce repeat harm and actually improve the whole clinical environment. It's a core professional duty.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning then. Most of us think of reflection as, just thinking about what happened. But in this kind of high-stakes professional context, what is the formal definition? Is it just writing down how stressed you felt?
No, it's definitely not an emotional diary. The formal definition, and this comes right from good medical practice, is that it's a structured, honest account. And it's aimed at understanding three specific things. First, what happened, the objective facts. Second, what you learned, the insight. And third, and this is the key bit, what you will do differently, the measurable action.
That structured learning part feels so important. The sources we've looked at make it really clear that the goal is always to approach this with the exam mindset. Reflect with purpose, anonymize, focus on learning and actions. Why is that so critical? Why focus on actions and learning over that very human instinct to either hide it or just punish yourself?
Well, that's where this idea of the just and learning culture comes in, and it's central to why certain answers in an exam score highly and others don't. Historically, medicine had a real culture of blame. An error happened, an individual was disciplined. Simple as that. Modern governance, which the GMC fully endorses, completely shifts that view.
Ah, I see.
And what's fascinating here is that the guidance accepts that a really conscientious doctor, someone like you, will still make mistakes if the system around them is poorly designed. Errors are very often the result of systemic pressures. Fatigue, not enough staff, drugs that look and sound alike, just sheer cognitive overload.
So the reflective note is your chance to show an assessor that you get that shift. You're not ignoring your part in it, but you're putting it in the context of system weaknesses.
Precisely. Your reflection has to stick to three non-negotiable principles. One, it must be completely anonymized.
Right.
Two, it has to be balanced and learning-focused, a learning record, not some kind of legal confession. And three, the whole purpose is explicit system improvement and sharing what you've learned. That aligns you with that just culture, and the scoring logic in these exams rewards that every single time.
Okay, that brings us to the really practical bit, the toolkit. If you need a structured note that hits all those high-scoring points, how do you actually write it? You can't just, write a huge essay. The sources all point to one primary, really efficient framework, the WSN triangle. It's simple, it's memorable, and it covers all the bases. WSN stands for what, so what, and now what.
And let's just break those down a little, because the sequence is really important. The what is just the objective, factual summary, keep it brief, minimalist really. It's only there to establish the context for the learning point.
Okay.
Now, the so what, this is the real engine room of the reflection. This is where the professional insight really shines through. You're moving beyond just the facts and digging into the contributing factors. So if we go back to our insulin error, the what is the wrong dose was given. The so what is asking why. Was I interrupted by a phone call? Was packaging confusing? Was I exhausted after a 12-hour shift? Did I miscalculate because I was trying to do 5 other things at once?
So identifying those human factors, that's where the marks are. The things that make these high-risk errors predictable.
Absolutely. The strongest reflections always connect the individual error to those known systemic human factors. You could even bring in that other memory aid here, the clear mnemonic.
Oh yeah, what's that one?
It's just another way to frame it. Capture the facts, learn the insights, establish actions and timelines, anonymize the record, and reshare the learning.
So whether you use WSN or Clear, that A for anonymize is a huge deal. You said it's non-negotiable, but what are the common pitfalls there? I think a lot of doctors worry that if they anonymize too much, the learning point gets lost.
This is the step where people really fall down, and it's so important. You have to achieve rigorous anonymization, and that means no names, no patient identifiers at all, no MRNs, no NHS numbers,
Okay.
no specific dates that could make the patient identifiable, and crucially, no specific locations that could identify the patient or even your colleagues.
So you have to strip out a lot of detail.
You do. You keep clinical details minimal and relevant only to the learning point. So instead of saying, Mrs. Smith in bed 5 on Ward D, you say, a patient under my care received a high-risk medication. Your priority here is confidentiality. That massively outweighs the need for a hyper-detailed record for your own learning.
And including identifiable data
A breach of confidentiality, it's unsafe practice, and in an exam it would score incredibly low, instantly.
That distinction is so vital, isn't it? Your professional reflective record is a separate thing from the formal clinical and incident records. It's a learning tool, not a police report. So if we've done our so what, and we've identified that, say, bad lighting and constant interruptions contributed to that insulin error, we get to the final, and you said most high-scoring segment.
Well,
now what?
This is the action plan. This is what separates a high-scoring candidate from an average one. Your actions have to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. They have to be smart. We need to see tangible, time-linked change.
Can you give us a few examples? Based on our insulin error scenario, what would a good, smart action look like at both the personal and the system level?
Yeah, of course. So at the personal level, a good action is specific and has a deadline. Something like, I will complete the mandatory high-risk prescribing e-learning module by the end of next week. Or, I'll arrange 3 supervised prescribing sessions with my consultant to review my calculation skills.
Right. Very
Smooth.
concrete.
But the very highest marks, they come from system fixes. If the issue was interruptions, the action could be, I will propose to the ward manager that we implement a do not disturb policy during prescribing rounds with a planned review in 2 weeks.
Oh, I like that.
Or if the packaging was a problem, I'll raise a formal safety concern about the similar packaging between X and Y insulin during the next safety huddle. That shows you're thinking about the whole team's safety, not just your own.
And this is where it gets really interesting, I think, the importance of sharing and review. Because if I just propose that do not disturb policy, but never follow up or share the learning, I've only really done half the job.
You've done exactly half the job. The action doesn't just end when you decide what you are going to do. You have to spread that learning. And that means sharing an anonymized summary through the proper channels, team huddles, M&M meetings, that kind of thing.
To reinforce that just culture.
Exactly. And you have to set a timeline to review the impact. A smart action needs a review date. I will check the uptake and effectiveness of the do not disturb policy at the safety meeting in 4 weeks. That shows follow-up, it shows commitment, and that is explicitly what the GMC expects.
Now, something we absolutely have to talk about, because I think it often gets rushed, is personal well-being. Reflection means confronting an error, and that can cause huge psychological stress.
It's a profound part of professional life, and a high-scoring response has to touch on it. After a significant patient safety incident, you have a duty to make sure you are fit and safe to continue practicing.
So what does that look like?
It means committing to addressing your own well-being. Seeking a formal debrief from a senior colleague, talking to your supervisor, or even accessing formal services like occupational health. If you ignore the psychological fallout, you compromise your ability to be a safe, effective doctor long-term. And showing that self-awareness demonstrates real professional maturity. You're committing to being resilient, not just reflective.
Okay, before we finish up, let's go through the classic pitfalls, the trap answers that exams use to see if you really get these principles. Knowing what to avoid can be just as powerful as knowing what to do. Let's run through them. Trap number 1. You feel completely overwhelmed and decide to write nothing to avoid problems.
That's the lowest possible score. It violates your core professional duty to learn and improve. It's an act of, well, willful secrecy, and it stops the whole organization from learning.
Okay. Trap number 2, and this one is driven by fear. Keep notes private. Don't share your learning with the team.
Again, that stops any system learning, which means the risk is still there. If you found out about poor labeling and don't share it, the next doctor is just as vulnerable. It's a non-negotiable duty to share.
Trap number 3. Include names or the patient's MRN for absolute accuracy in your reflective note.
Huge red flag. You are trading a bit of accuracy in a private note for patient confidentiality. That is an immediate, catastrophic breach of professional conduct. It never, ever trumps confidentiality.
And the last one, trap number 4, which is very tempting when you feel jetty. Focus only on emotive self-criticism.
It's good to be honest about the emotional impact, of course, but if the note is only that, just a narrative of how bad you feel with no concrete time-bound actions, then it has failed its professional purpose. You have to pivot from that introspection to system improvement. So to synthesize all that into a golden rule for these assessments, structured, rigorously anonymized reflection that leads to shared, time-bound action while looking after your own well-being, that always scores highest. It just perfectly aligns with modern learning culture and GMC expectations.
That is exceptionally clear. So to quickly recap the absolute must-dos for anyone listening. First, use a clear structure. That what so what now what, the WSN triangle, is perfect. Second, anonymize everything. Protect patient confidentiality above all else. And third, turn those insights into shared, time-bound, smart actions. And don't forget to include a plan for your own self-care and professional support.
And I'd like to leave you with one final thought. When you write a reflective note, you aren't closing the book on an error. You're actually opening a contract with your future self and with your future team.
A contract.
Yes, a contract that promises that the system will be safer because of the effort you put into learning from that incident. In that sense, reflection is probably the highest demonstration of our professional duty to improve practice. For more tools and high-yield content on mastering these kinds of professional scenarios, you can explore all the resources available at passthemsra.com.
And that's it for this deep dive. We really hope this structure gives you the clarity and the confidence you need to handle errors professionally and to turn those moments of stress into lasting systemic strength. We'll catch you next time.